Hello and welcome back to Spiritual Soul Centre. Thank you again for tuning in. If you're listening on YouTube, welcome back. And again, if you're listening on our podcast channel, thank you so much for tuning in. So today I'm just going to tap in and just channel in some frequencies and energetic updates that have been coming in for me and other people that I am around and working with over the past couple of weeks. And also this specific topic today takes me back quite a couple of years ago to my own journey of awakening and my own journey of tapping into my own truth and standing in my truth. And it's clear that right now there is a lot of shifts going on. It is go time, as I would call it. It's now time to put all the work that we have done over the years into action. And a lot of people that have been preparing subconsciously without knowing have now had that awakening call and have really sped up their journey and made rapid choices into doing what's best for them. So we have had a genuine sense of divide at the moment between those who are energetically and vibrationally aligned to a frequency of ascension and those that are not. And I wanted to go back to the start of my own awakening journey and what that was like for me in very small amounts, because, you know, we've all experienced it. Anyone that's listening to this video today has most likely experienced what I'm going to talk about. And it's not new to any of us, but what I wanted to reassure for those that are around us that are going through that, we can help them avoid being as lonely as we were. So I think that's really important to recognize that we have had this experience and we have gone through a journey where we did do it alone, a lot of us. And I'm not saying it's not a lonely journey, it still is going to be. However, we can maybe make it a little bit less lonely for them as now we have more knowledge, awareness, and support. So, a lot of people at the moment that have been subconsciously preparing. So the knowledge has always been there in the soul. We're going to talk a little bit about soul knowledge and soul awareness later on. But in regards to this situation, a lot of these people have had the knowledge in the background, but chose not to listen to it, chose to live in denial or fear or restriction, or very much living in a falsified three-dimensional life. So these people and now having the wake up call very loud, very clearly, and I've watched some rapid transformations and very, very, very fast paced, impulsive transitions in their life to put them into best soul alignment for where they would be most aligned to their soul path. And that involves people leaving relationships, quitting their jobs, you know, moving over countries. I've seen that happen. I've seen people, you know, decide that they're going to start putting themselves first and book a random trip last minute somewhere that's really going to take them and activate them. So we have a lot of these people making radical choices, you know, taking responsibility for their health, detoxifying from their home and from their bodies, and getting out in nature and wild swimming and just really pushing themselves. You know, I've even had people that are connecting with ETs and extraterrestrials and actually visually seeing them, you know, more so than I would have ever seen at the beginning of my awakening journey. So it's clear that the way in which people awaken now is at a much faster pace and with much more intensity, and they can clearly handle it. They can clearly comprehend and handle the information and the energies and upgrades because of the information that they've been drip fed and receiving over the past couple of years by a lot of people like ourselves or from their subconscious higher self. And I think it's really important to recognize the pathways in which you will start to see other people around you as you awaken. So, as many of us knows, when we have awakened, we have had family members, friends, relationships, jobs, social media, friends, everyone that can and possibly could judge the situation or judge yourself. Oh, look at that crazy behavior, manic, unpredictable, not professional. Like there's so many things that I have been labeled and judged by experiencing spirituality at a young age and participating in that. And it became kind of a norm, and I learned not to accept that. However, it's really clear now that there is a show of similarity in the way that people that don't want other light workers to ascend, especially those that have been living on the crossroads for a long time. They are really amping up the pressure and suppression to push people down so that they can't receive their activation and receive their divine light and receive their awakening. So when you see people stepping out of their box, stepping into their power, stepping into the truth, speaking that, and then their family members, their friends, their co-workers around them are really shunning them down and pushing them down and not allowing them to feel like they have a right to be seen or to shine or to activate in that way, because they feel like they are embarrassing or going to be judged and going to be shut down. So this is simply what is happening. It's the dark agenda's last attempt to stop people from shining their light and to stop people from hitting awakening. So if they target the last people now that are on the precipice of that, of inspiring others and activating others, and they target them to make them think that they are doing something wrong or that they do live in fear, so that they will either remove the post or stop doing what they're doing or stop talking about it or stop sharing it online or, stop making videos in regards to whatever it is that they are doing that's clearly activating others and triggering those that are not ready to be activated. But it is so clear as day why, whether that's jealousy, insecurities, fears, projections of that, or even shame and embarrassment for what's going to come out of the truth and of the light. Because when people step into truth and light, sometimes that forces other people to take accountability for the way they behave during that time. And that's a scary realization for some people. And it's not just that. We also have the power that it takes off people to feed off your life force when you're in fear, anxiety, worry, and all these emotions. Their energies can feed off that. So if they see you expanding out of that box, out of that hemisphere, they're going to try and drag you back down into that frequency so that you stay in that trauma bond, so that you can stay and be fed off energetically and feed off your light whilst being in that lower vibrational frequency. So it's really important to watch who will support you now or who will support you at the time where it's socially acceptable or validated by others. Again, my career, I've had a lot of family members, friends, observational people throughout the years make their own very negative, judgmental, derogatory, damaging and demeaning comments, and it's only till they either got socially validated by people with a higher following or by society being more acceptable to it and receiving more support and feedback from that in a good way, that then I had people wanting to join on, wanting to participate, wanting to take some of that light, even though they had put nothing in to contribute to that. In fact, they actually tried to turn it off. So it's really, really, really important to recognize who's doing what around you, who's making you feel like what. And also, if you have already gone past all this and you're already, like myself, kind of living a life where it is a really strange feeling, actually, when you look around and there is not anybody really in my life that is of a lower frequency. Everyone has respect, boundaries, morals, communication, accountability. And a lot of those people that didn't have that, that used to project that pain and anxiety and fear onto me and make me feel that way, I no longer see them, I no longer have connections with them. And I didn't need to have like a big cut-off ceremony and a big argument. It just needed to be an acknowledgement that I deserve and I'm worthy of not being in environments that are incredibly uncomfortable, unpredictable, and traumatizing for the nervous system. Because once I stepped out of that fight or flight energy and that panic and fear and started to calm the nervous system, it was very clear on what environment, who, and where was triggering that nervous system. So it was more easier to accommodate and address what environments not to participate in, with who and why, and to avoid these certain energies because of the way their energies, lack of self-regulation, lack of self-control, or projection of self onto others. So it really taught me so much. And that doesn't mean that I don't love these people. I don't have any contact whatsoever. Of course, sometimes I do still have contact with these people. Sometimes I will have very small visitations or phone calls or engagements like that. But it's very rare that I will put a pressure on myself to visit, to call, to speak, I used to put a lot of pressure to maintain these bonds, when in reality, they're not being maintained to me for the highest good of my heart. They're coming with lower vibrational intentions, and they're really draining and exhausting energetic exchanges to be in. So I did have to make a sense of self-prioritization, because these people have a real lack of understanding, and I'm going to go into that about the age of the souls. But the self-prioritization and boundaries on a human level, it needs to be done. Like, if that's not done, it's one of the first steps to being able to heal and move forward, is to have that ability to recognize when you're triggered, why, to reflect on that and do the work on that, obviously, always, but also to know that you don't have to accept someone else's repetitive projection of pain just because it's all that's ever been a cycle or a habit in place. It's not what we have to accept, and it really is a valid one, that, and it takes us to the concept of having no choice, and having no choice about the situation, and also not being in the right environments to heal. So going back to the central nervous system has to have a calm environment, at least somewhere, someplace, some energetic frequency where the nervous system can lower down its defense barriers and start to process that information and release, and start to calibrate into the conscious mind to actually integrate that trauma into the psyche, so it doesn't get stored as a trauma loop and as a blockage within the mind. But then what's happening is, because we're in environments and places around people that are constantly triggering us, and then at our own home, if we live with other people, you're then being triggered in your own space. There's nowhere for you to let them barriers down, actually breathe, release this energy, process through the trauma, calibrate through, cry it out, communicate, write a poem, whatever you need to do to integrate that, and then come back to self. But if you are not allowed, oh, excuse me, that breath of air gave me a yawn. But if you are not allowed to do that in that environment, if your nervous system does not feel safe to do that, you are really going to struggle doing the inner deep healing work in an environment such as that. And, it sounds really awful to say, oh, there's never no choice, because I do understand on a human level, it really does feel like that sometimes, physically, financially, emotionally. And sometimes what the better reflection is there's not the right accessibility at the moment for that, instead of, I have no choice, because we do always have a choice, whether when we wake up, when we breathe, when we choose to get out of bed, how we function, how we choose to participate in that day as a human being is a reflection of our choices. Now we get into habits, routines, formings, responsibilities, and expectations that we create within our own daily life, within our own reality. But then what is integral to reflect on is there's always a choice to be able to change the intentions, the priorities, the focus, and the actions. There was told, and a lot of the times throughout 2019, 2020, 2021, that there's no choice. We just have to do it. We have to do that. We have to do this. But that was not true, because a lot of us that knew that, maybe in other countries, but I can affirm that in the UK, there was a choice. It was just a very difficult one to make. It was a very challenging, confronting, anxiety-ridden, difficult choice to make continuously, to have to keep standing in your rights. But a lot of us did it. But it was exhausting, and it was challenging, and it was draining, and it was not necessarily the easiest thing to do. However, I would never have not done it any other way. I would always have done it that way. I'm stuttering my words there, mixing them all up. But yeah, I think it is really important to reflect on that wherever you are in that toxic environment, or not to where you want to be. Again, excuse me, got some whole respiratory issues going on right now. Not issues, upgrades, we'll say, respiratory upgrades. I think that's a better word. Yeah, it definitely, being in toxic environments, being in environments around people, places, energy, violence, aggression, jealousy, nastiness, projection of ego, people in dysregulation, projecting their inner child, it's going to be near on impossible for you to do that healing journey. it's going to be near on impossible for you to meet the needs of self, to acknowledge and heal with the inner child, when the inner child is not feeling safe to do that, and the inner teen is not either. So I definitely think creating the physical change, whether that's creating a 6-month plan, a year plan if it has to be, on how you're going to move out of the house, how you're going to receive, the new door opening opportunities, how are you going to create them? And sometimes we don't even need to focus on them details, but it's just about having a vision, a plan, not being so limited to thinking this is the only option I have. And usually a lot of the time when asked why, it's because, oh, well, I can't let so-and-so down, or well, I can't stop them from receiving that, or I can't get in the way of that. Not actually ever having awareness and realization on your own needs, on your own things that need to be reflected on your own emotions, on your own prioritization of self, so that you can be able to actually do the healing work for you. Because if we never put the self-prioritization in to first of all change the environment, then everything else along the way is going to be just an incredibly difficult challenge without having that first thing of self-prioritization. So definitely making the choice to put you first, put energetic boundaries in place, to change the way you're working, add more staff onto your business if you run your own business, so that you can, experience more free time, delegate more energy. You're not spending more money. You're buying an exchange for more time in life. And sometimes that is absolutely worth that exchange 100% over. If it's a home environment, if you're a bit younger and you're living with your family and they're not of the right vibrational energy to you, just know that you will have your own home, your own space. Let's focus on how you can create that. How much are you going to need? What is the number, the figure that we need to create this? And how can we go about receiving that and creating that to us? Because we don't create let me get my saying right before I say it wrong. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So we don't create abundance, we create blockages to receiving abundance. So if we remove the blockages and we figure out a way to remove the blockages, the abundance will flow. So it really is about looking at what we need and in what amounts and blah, 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 blah. So having your little plan. Again, I'm not telling anybody to do impulsive, reckless decisions, but sometimes you have to listen to your soul, and I have a really beautiful friend that I'm so proud of, that has taken a leap to just fly on her own on a solo trip to the USA and just to explore herself and get to know herself. And I'm honestly incredibly so proud that she's taken that risk and that leap of knowing that, yes, the abundance is not necessarily always there present every time aware, for everybody. However, it is doable and there is a way and there is options that the universe will provide if you put yourself in alignment. So I would definitely reflect on where it is you want to be and how we can get you moving there, how we can move forward to achieving that aspiration, that intention, and how we can create it into the physical life. Because we really are just blocking our own abundance, blocking our own creation. We create the reality, so we just need to remove the blockages. 100%. Okay, so that was a lot of my human stuff that I wanted to talk about, that's been coming up energetically wise, boundaries, self-love, prioritization, a lot of those things. And I do apologize for anyone that is listening to this with little pause in the background and little, scratchy paws, because we do have a few animals here. But again, it's all just a part of real life, and it's all just a part of us, experiencing as own, what's the word? Reality. So lastly, the last thing I want to talk about today is the extraterrestrials. So I did receive a channeled in message for wanting to activate with light language and connecting via the channeling, but they also wanted to talk about how we all have this combination of higher dimensional DNA, and we all have a mixture of consciousness and soul experiences, and that's something I wanted to touch on as well. We have the younger and older souls. That's not necessarily an ego thing or a competition thing. That's just been a fact of where we are at now is from who's evolved to what level, who's experienced what experiences along the way, what lessons and tribulations that have taught them to learn and expand in higher ways. And we have to recognize where there is different species than just us, but there is also them different species within us. And we're not all very different to higher dimensional beings. We're not that different. We have the capabilities to be far more expansive and far more bigger and connected than we believe the human vessel is to be. And I think we have a concept on what the human is, and that's a very small, weak, feeble experience, when that's not the true reality. That's what we've been conditioned into believing in this matrix. And I think the first step to realizing our true potential and connection as a human, as a higher consciousness human, is to really look at the concept of time. I think we need to start with the concept of time, because that's keeping us bound into our 3D human experience and keeping us held into a space of lower vibrational pressure. Pressure would be the right word, and cycles of pressure. But yeah, I definitely think we need to be releasing the concept of time and restricted human. Stop thinking that we're so small. It is time to fly. It is time to activate. The higher dimensionals and ETs are really excited to support us on our journey of activation and ascension. And they have been here, obviously, for a long time. But they're really wanting us to recognize the reflections of mirror reflections within them to us, and our power and capability as a human, instead of looking at ourselves as such a small, feeble, kind of weak experience. And just know that, again, what I was talking about with putting energetic boundaries in place and kind of cutting people off a little bit, or not even cutting them off, but energetically stopping putting that energy in, cutting off the energetic supply would probably be a better way to put it. We have to kind of have a look at this moment in time on, is their soul ever able to receive and bring us that exchange we're looking for? Or is it best to kind of reflect the situation for its true self and for its true nature, to know that it's okay if their soul is at a less evolved place? And that's not saying, oh, I'm better than you. That's just, again, an acknowledgement of different frequencies and different connections, and knowing that we can't force a circle to fit into a triangle. If the frequencies do not align, whether that's with friends, partners, family members, or friends of friends, you can't force something to work. Can't force something to flow frequency-wise. If it's meant to connect, if it's meant to flow, it will. If you're meant to teach, if you're meant to learn, you will. You will gain the experiences you need to learn. So do not fear not gaining what you need. You'll always gain what you need from whichever way you'll find that. The universe will provide that to you. But it is important to recognize that we are here to create a difference, and we are here to create the change, but we are also here to be human and navigate what that means together, and navigate what that means as almost a hybrid higher dimensional human, and figure out what that means for the rest of humanity now, and for us moving forward. Like, how do we live in a place that's not from the same 3D frequencies, but also in a physical vessel, in a physical world that we've created? So yeah, I hope that makes sense, guys. If you have any questions or anything you'd like me to cover, I would really appreciate the feedback and the comments in the section below, just to kind of explore what it is you guys are wanting to learn more about and go into, so I know, so I can have more of an idea. We do have, obviously, every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. UK time, our Zoom call, which is Tuesday Night Development. And that's a really beautiful opportunity for us all to connect in together at the same time, frequency wise, and be able to talk live, be able to meditate, be able to ask questions, communicate with like-minded people, and also to be able to explore parts of ourselves that have maybe been switched off for a long time or kept hidden out of fear. So it is truly to develop your own abilities and to connect in with your own higher self and inner self. But obviously we have a great time just talking with everyone and connecting in with the frequencies as well as that as well. There is the ebook Light Up Your Life. There is the workbooks that are going to be available. They're not available just yet, but they will be very shortly. Light Up Your Life is available already. The affirmation deck is available already, Soul Speak affirmation deck. And like I said, the workbooks will be coming shortly soon, all about journey back to self, mental health, spiritual handbook, everything like that. I will be doing one-to-ones for the next couple of months, but I will be stopping that in September. So make sure to be booked in before September. Obviously for my little man coming, we have to make sure that energies and frequencies are aligned for myself going into that journey. I will be doing soul contracts, Akashic records, cellular healing, multidimensional healing, working with the mind, body, soul, and spirit, and also doing readings, channeling, anything like that. And obviously, I do have the classes available over at Honeysea Golden School on the World Endeavour Project as well. So if you want to get in touch, make sure you're getting in touch at spiritualsoulcentre.co.uk. That's my website. Everything is linked below in the link tree. There is multiple Telegram groups. You can always contact us on there and ask whatever questions you have. But please know that you are not alone throughout this journey. You are not going, you know, through this journey and going to end up with no family and friends. Once we create room in our lives for what's no longer vibrationally serving us, the right vibration will come to match. So just know that this is all an expansion journey. Look after yourself, listen to your soul, listen to your intuition, and keep moving forward with the light. I'll see you next time, guys. Take care. Until then, lots of love and protect yourselves. Bye-bye.